Well, hello again, everybody. Grind Reporter here, and today we are going to be playing some Oaken Tower again. Now, the thing for this video is I wanted to combine every single endless build that I've seen reach day 100 and kind of see how good can it be. Is it going to become the ultimate build, or will it hit on none of the marks and just lose instantly? As soon as I get a 1-star crook that's above 100% crit chance, that's around the time that I'll probably sell the spyglass, sell basically everything except for the witch stuff, and then I'll just, obviously I'll grab a moon knife because it's basically free, because you get 16 and then you sell it, so if anything you're profiting 1 gold total if you're trying to convert it all into XP. So basically pick it up anytime you see a moon knife. If you get 2, maybe hold it until you combine it. Other than that, you're going to want to just keep going full witch mode. I try to keep my early games as strategic as possible while still being pretty easy to follow, not too many moving components, and I try to do a similar strategy for most of my videos. This one was literally just get a spyglass, get to 100% crit on my 1-star crook, because usually it'd only be 60%, and then just kind of go as many witch items as I can. The nice thing about witch is as you star them up, you're going to get obviously more potions, but they also get better. So you go from lesser potions to vials to actual potions. But the nice thing that I like is you can spend more gold on re-rolling to kind of get stronger, as you get a ton of XP just from witch potions. So you don't have to worry about getting as far behind. However, obviously, if you're worried about, let's say, poison or something, you can level a little bit extra. But for the most part, getting a bunch of these shields before using your potions is always a good thing. So like, for example, if you're planning on rolling, or you have a bunch of free rerolls or a lot of gold and you don't want to level and you'd rather use the potions, just make sure you roll first, because if you are lucky enough to get a couple extra witch shields, they do all combine when they turn to 2 stars. So you're basically just getting an extra shield per potion you use. Like 1 extra shielding, not 1 extra full shield. All right. Now, as you'll see, I did pick up an arcane orb. If you know from previous episodes, that's going to be to get our simple curses the easiest way that I know how to, especially including the fact that it gives bleed. Hopefully you get it in 1 round. However, sometimes you have to do 2. And very rarely do you have to do 3. And I do consider getting potion belt pretty decent early, because you can put all your potions that you want to use to scale your shield, but you don't want any damage. You put that all in the potion belt, and it kind of just reminds you to pick up another one along the way when you see it, because that's the one that you'll be mimic rotting. And if you do, get 1 or 2, if you get 2 stars, then you're going to have to get another one, but at that point, surely you have enough rules if you're in a good run to do it. Now, I didn't necessarily plan on this, but I got an extra shield for my witch thing, and I decided to try to get a couple extra just to scale it. You never know when that shielding is going to make a difference, and you're getting so many potions at this point. If you don't have something else for that slot, there's no reason not to. So yeah, at this point, my rerolls are mostly looking for simple curses, but I will pick up the night blooms as they're only 20 gold. And the value you get once you just have 1 round of a decent kind of potion generation, it's pretty much worth it 100% of the time, in my opinion. Now what you're seeing here is another thing that the Grind Reporter does that I haven't seen done many other places. When you get 2 dream catchers, you do want to put one above the other if you can fit it, especially with the witch strat. Usually you'll only need kind of your potion generator and your big shield, assuming it's starred and kind of pushed to a decent amount of shielding and healing. So that way just after one fight you'll be able to get a couple extra dream catcher casts per fight, assuming the fight isn't over instantly, which does make a big difference overall, especially before you get either Crook 2-star or Simple Curses 2-star. I have been inclined to go for some cauldrons when I see it. I usually keep it 1 or 0 or 1 star, as I don't want to apply too much poison. However, it is nice to get some early potion generation. Really, once you have a 1 or 2 star shield, I recommend putting all of your healing and shielding on the cauldron, because you're going to scale your shield enough anyways, and the cauldron, that's better than adding a bunch of damage and crit, at least in my opinion, if you want the rounds to last a decent amount. Now, we are getting a little unlucky not finding the simple curses, as I'm not trying to get my Crook to 2 stars, and I don't really want to get 1 star cauldron, but I'm gonna have to take whatever I can to keep scaling each round. At this point in the video, I appreciate you if you're watching, and I do want to get your input on the future of this channel. Now, I do want to continue to post Oaken Tower for as long as you all are willing to watch it and enjoy it. I still enjoy the game. However, the point of this channel is not to be stuck into one category of game. I would love to play whatever game is hot or I think could be enjoyable for a majority of my viewers and give you insight on the game. So I would play long enough to be able to give maybe a guide or tell you the meta or give you beginners tips, and then I would probably either write a written guide or make a video, kind of gauge what everyone thinks. Whether you think the written guide is important or not, I would love to know in the comment section below. If you are here only for Oaken Tower, that is completely fine, and I really appreciate it. I probably won't be talking about other games too often in the videos. I just wanted to ask you about this now, as I really do enjoy making content, and I'd love to be able to make content for you in as many games as I possibly can, as I think having a library of games that you could look at all in playlists and very neat, that you could find what games you're willing to play, wanting to play, and have a little bit of an intro guide or an educational video to go off of somebody that hopefully you enjoy their content. I'm hoping that that would be me, but I think that would be cool. Last thing regarding this before we just go back into the scaling is, if you are interested in what I'm saying, please let me know what type of genre you are interested in. Is it all auto battlers? Is it roguelikes? Is it roguelites? Is it bullet heavens? I mean, basically anything. Is it extraction? Is it shooter? Is it, you know, MOBA? I mean, I do have a Game Bolt Plays channel that is ARAM Mayhem, but mostly a League of Legends arenas. However, if you wanted to see Deadlock on this channel, I have a few hundred hours in that game, and I have some really cool off-meta type of stuff that you might enjoy. So that's about it for this. I'm gonna go back to the video only talking when It's important, and I hope you are vibing with the music and the scaling. Thanks again for watching, and you're all awesome people. I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. One thing when it comes to Pandoras that I will mention is I tend to not use them between day 6 and day 9. Even if I get them, I try not to, because you want to always take the slot buffs from the encounter on day 9. So if you have your slots already filled, obviously the slot buff, that's one less slot buff chance for a dark slot or a vitality slot. So I tend to wait until seeing if I do get the slot buff encounter or not, and then once I do or don't, then I'm more free to kind of get my Pandoras in there to 2-star all my stuff. Now, I think when you go the critical healing perk, you don't really care about the heal slot past maybe like the 5th day. So I think personally it's better to get Pandoras in that slot. I don't know if I necessarily do here, because using 2 Pandoras might end the fights too fast. However, this is something to think about, as you losing the heal slot doesn't necessarily lose it doesn't lose the crit on the healing that you get. So if you ever wanted to, let's say on day 8 you got ink, you could always ink the heal slot and have a better chance at getting, let's say, a vitality slot or a dark slot, which is the most important things that you can get from your slot buffs and from your encounters. Now at this point, there were a lot of days that or runs that I've played in the past that I feel like I lost to somebody just using Dusk Shield instead of like a Witch Shield. I think I kept the Witch Shield just in case I felt like I was facing a poison enemy. However, probably against anybody else, especially burn builds, you definitely want to have your Dark Necklace proccing a start of combat Dusk Shield, as that should be able to tank most burn builds at this point in the game. Even if they have flares and stuff, you should be alright, just solely off of the fact that I already had scaled my Dark Necklace to 1 second and my Dust Shield was 2 stars, so that is, I think every 1 second it's like 40k, maybe a little bit, probably way more than that actually, probably like 100k, because the Dark Necklace is doing 3 times at 2 stars, and then the Night Quill is doing 2 times, and each Dust Shield is 20% on the start of combat. So yeah, I've actually become a big fan of the Elven Orb plus Elven Potion or Elven Essence. So yeah, that's something that's always a pickup for me. I try to get 1 second on the thing that I'm putting it on, and then 1 second obviously would be ideal on the Elven Orb. However, if you get Frosty and a Frost Orb, you can always put that on your Elven Orb as well. It's kind of like adding multicast to it, which is very nice. And if you can get the cooldown long enough or low enough, you can basically just scale it for 1 round and it'll be infinite casting. I think you get like a couple hundred multicast even at like 2 stars on your Elven Orb. I personally tend to, when you're going for Curse Shield, Dark Orb, or even the debuff first item, it's way easier to just get a Dark Necklace 3-star and use your first 3-star on that, and then just don't have to worry about it for the rest of the game, rather than using all your free rerolls and stuff and then worrying about finding it or missing it and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but when I'm going through hundreds of rerolls, I definitely do miss some stuff. Now, I think once I saw that I could 3-star my witch shield, I decided that it was fine to kind of leave it in. However, I would say 2-star dust shield once you switch to your start of combat setup is better against every other build except for poison, which will probably beat you 100% of the time. So yeah. one of the main things I was looking at this point in the game, besides obviously crown guards, royal potions, like the main stuff, is the mimic rod, of course, but also the candy strat. If I wanted to scale, let's say the Solaris, but I wanted to have a 100-second cooldown, that way I can literally just scale and not have to worry about anything, because at this point in the game there are a lot of builds that you can face that you will win too early. So what you would do is you'd put an ink on the Solaris and do the candy strat. Make sure you put whatever has your most multicast. So you'd want 1 second cooldown on something and have 10 multicast. For example, I usually do Dark Necklace, but you could obviously do Night Quill as well. But the ideal setup would be 2 Dark Necklaces, 3 Night Quill, and a Solaris if you're trying to scale your Solaris with 100 seconds on the Solaris. So the way that you do this is through the candy strat. You'd use your candies in this order. I would say that you should use the cheaper rerolls one first because it's kind of useless. Then I would use the damage or the crit depending on what you're wanting, but I would put that on something you're not going to use for a while. For example, in this run, I think at some point I pick up a Katana and I start putting the candies on that. Then you're going to want to use the max HP, as you're usually going to be scaling your HP other ways. However, if you, let's say you're not scaling it other ways, you could do it in a different order. Then I would do shield, and then lastly go healing. Healing and shielding both being on your Dark Necklace, which is the most commonly used thing for this strat. At least that's what I use the most. So that's what you would want to do, and that way you have a little bit of extra healing and shielding. You can get it up in the millions if you have enough rerolls through potions, and you get lucky enough with seeing a bunch of those candies. So definitely something you should always be doing. I can't stress this enough, and I'll probably mention it in all my videos, as I think it's saved quite a few runs. And if you've watched a lot of my videos, you've probably seen it win me a ton of rounds that I should have lost and would have lost if I even did it in a different order. Now, I only have 197,000 HP at this point. I am kind of worried about it. I want to scale my stuff, but I also want to get some procs off. I've been able to keep myself from doing too much damage in any of these fights. However, I definitely am considering getting my Solaris in soon to just get a couple procs, which should be enough to get me enough health that most poison builds won't be able to beat me for at least the next 8 to 10 days. The reasoning for getting my Curse Shield to like 400,000, which, I mean, it was not the most that you've ever seen. Most people have in the millions. I think I have a video recorded with like 34 million multicast. But I was wondering that if I can get it 3-starred first, maybe I can scale enough to beat them before they have scaled their multicast into shielding. So let's say I verse a guy that has 10 million multicast, but he just turned it 3-star, but I had 3 rounds of fully scaling the 400,000 to be able to maybe at least compete was the idea. I'm not sure the math on that, and it might not even be close, and I might be completely wrong. However, that's kind of the thinking that I had for this video or for this game. Because I had so many ideas of strats that I wanted to do in this video, like I said, I'm combining all the different strats: poison, kind of a little bit of burn, debuff, per shield, katana, crit healing, shielding, whatever. Then I wanted to get only one round with the potion belt, get about 1,000 potion belts, and then just start playing the game. However, I would say if you ever do this strat again, haha, doo-doo, lol, then I would say that you should definitely consider doing maybe 1 or 2 more rounds of potion belts. However, it is more tedious and the video would have been longer, so I decided to only do the 1 round. Also, I think I mentioned earlier that I had been scaling the Solaris but not proccing it. I guess I hadn't even scaled it at all. So I was kind of living life on the edge, because I definitely was susceptible to taking a big amount of poison. However, I was hoping that the candy strat would carry me, and apparently it has been. So candy strat's OP. Let's put that on a shirt or something, you know what I'm saying? But maybe that sounds a little sus, so let's cut that out. Guys, if that round did not make you a believer in the candy strut, then I don't know what will. I mean, that is insane. I didn't even get a proc of my Solaris, and just that dark necklace proccing nonstop with 1600 healing and 1100 shielding was enough. Now, one thing that I will say is also nice to do is put a 100-second cooldown on one of your NyQuils, and it just starts slamming all your potions onto that. As long as you have enough inks that when it gets to, let's say, under 70 seconds, you can put another one on, then this was definitely your ideal, because that way you don't have to worry about getting your Solaris too low, as I like the sweet spot of around 55 to 47 seconds. If you can get it around that cooldown, I would stop using potions on it and just start using potions on the NyQuil. That way you can do what I'm doing, which kind of saves a lot of time by just spam right click every single potion. That way you're not lagging and you don't have to worry about it. This is more so a problem when, or like more so like a solution to when you have thousands of potion belts. However, this is something that you can get in the habit of, and like I said, I tend to try to get in the habit of doing stuff optimally in my eyes compared to suboptimally, just because I'm lazy or something, because then that'll create bad habits and we can't have those. if you are enjoying my content and you are enjoying the channel's growth so far, please like, comment, and subscribe. It is greatly appreciated and it means more to me than you know. I am full YouTube mode. I have a few channels that I try to post as regularly as I can. I have over 4,300 videos on my other channel that I've been posting on for over 3 years daily. And yeah, so you don't have to worry about a lack of content here, but also like low quality content. I will be posting heavily edited, but also extremely raw footage. So like, for example, I edited every single part of this video. Every combat will be in 2x speed, or has been in 2x speed and will continue to be, but I still left in all the buying phases, as if you wanted to learn, I feel like this is the best format, and hopefully this works for you too. If it doesn't, let me know what you would change in the comment section below, as I am always looking to improve my game, and I have no ego about, you know, things being done my way or whatever. I would love to improve in any way that I can to grow my channel and be able to reach the best and biggest audience that I can. Now, I feel like day 24 used to be still pretty easy. And I mean, it was pretty easy. However, I would definitely consider this in this game kind of the start of facing at least builds that were somewhat scaled. Like if I wasn't paying attention, I could lose too. However, I would say that as long as you're paying attention, the days 20 to 30 should be pretty manageable. And then once you're past 30, you could lose any fight just by having the wrong read on, who you're facing. Because as you see in most of my vids, I try to prepare every single, item for every situation in my inventory. That way, assuming that I have the right read on the meta and what, the pre-fight combat kind of tells me, I'm able to counter that going in. I definitely have some wrong reads, and that's how most of these videos end. However, I would say that I have a decent idea, and I feel like as long as I'm not getting completely trolled by the pre-fight, I usually can squeeze out, let's say, 5 extra rounds per run strictly off of that. If you want to learn about that, go to my first video on my channel, or honestly, if you want me to put it in the description of all my Oaken Tower videos, let me know. I have a written guide that basically explains everything that I know about the game, and even though it's about 10 days old, I would say that it still holds up with most of the principles, if not all of them. So definitely there are ways to improve, and that might give you at least an understanding of what's going on and what's going through my head when I see these, most common flame, and that he has an outheal. I know he's probably still scaling. Just know that whether you read my guide or learn from anybody else, you can't always know every fight who you're gonna face, like what you're gonna go up against. You could see something that makes no sense compared to what you face. However, it will always be on their board. I had a run where I saw a 0-star lost fragment, and then I faced the guy and he had a completed board except for that. I don't know why it was in or whatever, but I actually lost a pretty insane run due to that. So you're never gonna find anybody who can do 100% of the time with perfect accuracy. So don't beat yourself up if you do have the wrong read on a run. And getting runs in this game is not too hard as long as you're learning from your mistakes and you try to improve daily. I will comment over my losses. So that one was strictly just because he had way more curse shielding over me, and I didn't have my Elven Rod in. If I did, maybe I could have won. However, at this point, there's so many items that I want to have in. Like, I want to have my Elven Orb in, my Elven Shield in, my Katana in, but there's not enough space. And I don't have a Protector because that, you know, isn't really the focus of any build. It's just kind of like fluff that you add in to help with facing poison builds, or burn builds, I guess, but mostly poison builds. So my goal in this game was to just win against the poison builds. Like, just win. Why not? So yeah, that's where my head was at. And at this point, I could lose any fight if I have the wrong read, especially because I have so many items, like, all partially scaled. We'll see how far I can make it. Can I make it to day 50, 60, 70? Who knows? But these fights go long, so, I mean, these fights go pretty quick when I'm 2xing it, so don't go based on the video length. You're just gonna have to wait and see. You may think that the sword is the death of me here. However, if I had the right read and I wasn't as greedy, I definitely could have had my Elven Rod instead of the Nightquill, and I 100% would have won this fight. Now, I would say that if I had a Dark Orb instead of a Dark Necklace, and then I had the Elven Rod, the round would have ended instantly, and I wouldn't have got any scaling. So you really have to just kind of weigh your risk over your reward and see what you're feeling in the moment, because it's, at the end of the day, it's your run. Where you end up, there's no in my opinion, there's no like best answer, worst answer. The meta builds will usually get the the day 100 wins. However, it doesn't mean that a video is necessarily bad, in my opinion, whether I'm watching or creating content. If I'm trying to do something that hasn't been done or isn't done normally, because what matters is making the best run and content that you can and go on. So here we didn't have much of a chance. I didn't really expect it to be kind of scaled like this. This guy would get one shot by basically every 1,000 cuts. Even my 1,000 cuts that was skilled for one round would have one shot this guy. He didn't have the vitality slot from the looks of it. So yeah, I mean, he would win most rounds, I'm assuming, just through poison and having a lot of shielding. However, yeah, I didn't expect this guy to be one-shottable, or of course I could have put my katana in and win instantly. However, one thing to note, the katana was kind of like specifically to face other katana slash thousand cuts. That's what it's called, but I like to call it the katana, strictly because I figured that if I faced my own build, which if you haven't seen already, then you should definitely check out, where I got 11 billion damage in one tick. So if I didn't have 11 billion HP, I better have something to be able to face that, especially considering I have no lives left. If I lose, it's over. So we're going to see how long we're going to be able to kind of read the room and figure out our strat. However, any round could be the end. So with that being said, I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of the run. If you do enjoy these videos, please let me know what you like, dislike, and I will try to improve with every single video that I post. The support is greatly appreciated. The grind never stops. The grind reporter is signing off, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video and the rest of your day.